Here for analysis is activist Cleve Jones, whose career in politics began as a friend and colleague of San Francisco's first openly gay city supervisor, Harvey Milk. Mr. Jones now works with the labor organization Unite Here. Cleve, thanks very much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Talking to Jesse up in Maine, it's hard not to think about how long the odds are. States are 0-30 on voting for marriage equality, which is why these ballot initiatives are much more often put on the ballot by the anti-gay marriage forces, not those supporting it. Why has this been such a hard issue to win with voters?
Well, I think we're up against a lot of deeply rooted prejudices and considerable ignorance about what the real issues are. As much as the opposition attempts to phrase this constantly as a debate about sexuality or about religion, in our opinion, the debate is about the 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution and its guarantee of equal protection under the law.
So much of the fight on Prop 8 in California was funded and organized by the Mormon Church. One of the prime movers in favor of Question 1, the anti-gay marriage side in Maine, has been particularly the Portland Diocese of the Roman Catholic Church. I know that you say it's not an issue of religion, but will progress on this issue ultimately happen because of change that happens within communities of faith, progressive Catholics, progressive Mormons, moving their own churches on these issues?
Yes, you know, 30 years ago when Harvey Milk was leading us in the fight against the Briggs Initiative, he kept pointing out the importance of coming out of the closet and the role that that plays, because so many of these people who are manipulated into voting against us by tapping into these kinds of fears don't really know us. As angry as I get with some of the religious leaders who continue to exploit this issue, I continue to believe firmly that people of faith, regardless of their faith, Catholic, Protestant, Jewish, Hindu, Muslim, whatever, I think all people of faith are potential allies in this struggle for equality under the law. This is a pluralistic society. We have one Constitution, we have one Bill of Rights, and we have only one class of citizenship. So it's still early to see what's happened here. I'm encouraged by what apparently has been a real uptick in youth turnout. We see a real shift in opinion based on generation. But I also think it's important for everybody to understand that regardless of the outcome tonight in Maine or in Washington or Kalamazoo, gay people remain second-class citizens in this country and will continue to remain second-class citizens until we get action from the President, from the Congress, and the United States Supreme Court. And I deeply regret that President Obama did not seize this opportunity to speak out against this initiative in Maine and for the initiative in Washington. This is a far cry from the fierce advocacy that he had promised us in his campaign. As
you say, Cleve, President Obama did not weigh in on Question 1. I'm, without getting too into the weeds here for people who probably don't have as big a history as both you and I do on gay rights issues, just as people who are openly gay, and in your case as a lifelong activist on gay rights issues, is it true that we should expect more pressure on the president from activists, even as the gay rights establishment professes to be so happy with him for what he's done thus far?
Well, I think it's pressure on the president, but equally important on the Congress and the Supreme Court. True equality can only come from the federal government. Even if we win in Maine tonight, same-sex couples still are denied the most important rights that are granted to heterosexual couples through marriage. Those are the rights determined by the federal government, of course. So those of us who marched in Washington on October 11th for some time now have been trying to shift the conversation. And I think we're doing that bit by bit, making it clear to people that just as the great heroes of the civil rights movement in 1963 understood that they would have to continue to fight in places like Birmingham and Selma and Montgomery, but they set their sights on Washington, D.C. and succeeded in passing the Civil Rights Act and then the Voting Rights Act. I think we're at a similar place in our history today.
Activist Cleve Jones, thank you very much for your time tonight. It's great to have your insight.
Thank you.